Back with the Respect My Region podcast, episode 9. I'm Mitch Pfeiffer.
What up, everybody? J Ping checking in, man.
How's it going this evening down there in Los Angeles, my guy?
Bro, I'm wearing a hoodie, but it is 80 degrees outside, and it was 96 here in Tarzana today. It was wild.
96.
Yeah.
It was a little nice up here in Seattle today. It was kind of deceptive. It was one of those days where it was cloudy, and if you're
Mhm.
inside all day, you'd be wearing like a hoodie and sweats, but you step outside and it was like long sleeve t-shirt weather, not quite
Yeah.
t-shirt weather.
I don't miss having my armpits sweat as soon as I go in and out of all these places.
Yeah,
I'd rather just be hot the whole time at this point in
yeah,
Cali.
that is real. That is real. So what you smoking on right now, man?
I'm rolling up some Jungle Boys. This is their Banana Punch, aka the Banana Punch 2.0. It is Banana OG crossed with Purple Punch. So
So
I'm gonna put.
is that a new packaging for them, the white, or do they
You
do
know,
that for?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I haven't purchased. Ooh, look at this. I haven't purchased Jungle Boys in gosh, I don't know, 6 7 months until this recently. And so, but this one, I mean, look at this, dude. It is absolutely trichome covered, freaking orange hairs, purple flower. It's just wow, just wow. So
Yeah, that looks great, and I like the white packaging. Honestly, it looks
I do
really
too. I think it really does stand out. It's a little, they got this little thing here, little, and then they had this little tamper evidence seal on top. And then I really like how they do the colors on the little
yeah.
sticker. It's basic, but man, it's.
But it matches like what they do with the photos for Instagram, and it's a really clean look, and like on merch and stuff, it's a clean look. They definitely have
I love it.
graphically. California brands really have like the graphics down. You know, I know some people online think that I just like shit on Washington a lot, but from like Alien Labs,
Bro,
General
you always ride for Washington. It's me who's like, oh my gosh, this brand is doing this brand is doing that. But the reality is, bro, is that the genetics is where it comes from. The strength comes from the genetics, right? And then it comes from the roots, comes from the biology down there that's going on. And so, not to say that Washington or California, not to say either one of them has better weed than each other, but Cali has better genetics. And so I'll just leave it at that.
So I'm on this cart life. I didn't get to my weed before we started the show, but I got a little full spec cart. I can't remember what it is. It's a sativa, and I'm on the
The
Helio.
LeafWorks full spec.
Yep, full spec, and I'm on the Helio Supply battery, which honestly I know we did the review on the Soul Pod, but I got one of their batteries, and batteries are like that simple thing. I have hell of them and lose them. I'm not just trying to plug them, but this is actually a really good battery. It like holds its charge forever.
That's one of my biggest complaints is that I be really vaping, you know what I mean? And they just don't last that long and they get so hot. It's so hot.
True.
Does that one get hot in your hand?
Not that I've experienced. I will say, like, I have it in my container where I have like a PAX and that, and I probably reach for my PAX more, and then I usually hit the cartridge probably after hitting the PAX when I'm just not getting the pull that I want.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I like the Helio Supply, man. They do a good job with their hardware. That's Washington made. Washington doing a solid job with the hardware. And then so moving.
What are we talking about on today's episode?
We're gonna have a special guest, but I do want to quickly plug our playlist that we have dropped on Spotify. If people have followed us on Spotify previously, you may have noticed we had like 30 or 40 different playlists. We created a lot for festivals that we were media partners on, concerts that we were a part of, holidays, end of year lists. We had a shit ton.
We've been making playlists for years. We've been doing playlists since before playlists was popping.
And we never did a job like promoting those playlists. We just made them to embed them in articles. Some of them actually got some decent followers. But anyways,
shout out to Shambhala.
If you go to Respect My Region on Spotify now, all one word, our profile, you will see our main profile, our main playlist. All the other ones are hidden. So we have a little list of playlists. I'm going to run through them. You'll have to fill me in. We got the Washington Fire featuring just local artists of Washington. California Fire, same thing, but Cali. We have the Low Key Fire, which is a little bit independent, a little bit of mainstream, just fire music out there that you may or may not be listening to. It doesn't necessarily matter where people are from. And then we have High Key Bars, which is just about lyrical hip hop, lyrics driven. I'm curating that with one of our writers, Hannah, and it's interesting. She's younger than me. Like, what I think of bars is like just stereotypical like New York hard hitting stuff. She like will find like the bars in like a Southern song, which I mean some of those guys do be spitting. I'm not trying to discount that, but back in my day, 20 15 years ago, the South got slept on, and so now the South's coming through with a little bit of different style. But anyway, they're still dropping bars. So we have the high key bars, focus on lyricism, and then we have the CBD and chill. Right? Is that one live?
CBD and chill is in the works right now. It's going to be a combination of chill hop, trap hop, funky vibes. Not like super energetic funky vibes, just stuff that you can really chill to, man. It might be wonky, it might be funky, it might be dipped and swinging. It's CBD and chill, man. Shit that's going to be dope while you smoking on some hemp vibes, some Delta 8 edibles, taking some dabs, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? It's CBD. You never know what's about to happen.
Yep. So that's what we got these playlists. That's all of them, right? Is it 5?
Technically, we got a couple more, but they're in the works. We don't need to talk about them yet.
So yeah, so we got these new playlists on Respect My Region. Some of them aren't new. We just kind of honed them all in and simplified. We just have a couple playlists. We'll still be doing playlists that we integrate in articles or based around events, but we're gonna be running with these playlists kind of moving forward for a while. We're gonna.
These are the curated ones. These are the ones we co-sign. We put hours and hours into every week.
And for artists out there that want to submit, we do feature a lot of local music across all these playlists, but we also have the specific Washington Fire and California Fire for artists specifically from those regions. So if you're from there, you got some new heat, you have some old stuff that you're still sitting on, but it's getting some good play on Spotify, please, info@respectmyregion.com. Shoot it in. We also have a submission form on the website, respectmyregion.com. /marketing. I'm not really quite sure. Regardless, info.
Yeah, it's on the marketing page.
Shoot that over our way. And with that being said, man, we're gonna get in. We're gonna bring our guest. We have a very special guest today from Bird Valley Organics, the co-founder. We got Manny. What is going on, my guy?
Oh, look at him, man! Perfect timing, bro.
He's coming in hot.
Coming in hot, man. What you smoking on, Manny?
Some of that Bird Valley forest fruit, genetics from Coastal Sun.
Yes, okay. That's a fruity, wonderful, energetic, euphoric, man. Creative. I love it.
You guys are right down there.
That Jack Turk.
Yep. You guys are right down there by Coastal Sun too, right? Am I correct?
We're about 8 minutes away. Yeah, our distribution facility is at their farm. We also.
Okay.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope.
I know you're connected. I know that area, that area you guys are in. There's quite a bit of cannabis going on in that general area.
Oh yeah. There's a few decent brands out here that legacy growers have been doing it for a long time, and they're still around. We got some of them got licensed. Not everybody got licensed. Unfortunately, we had like 700 registrants in right before when the county opened up, and out of those 720 registrants, I think there's maybe 41 licensed today.
Wow.
So you guys in Coastal, what county are you in? What part of California? Just for the people, right? We got lots of viewers for us on this podcast that are going to be watching from Seattle, from Oregon, from Spokane, and so they always travel down here to California. They don't know what to get. We're trying to build connections with people, and so for you, Manny, where are you guys located in terms of the Bay Area or SoCal? Where are you guys at?
And we're in the land of the Big Sur Holy, the land of the Blue Dream. We are in Cruz County, South Santa Cruz.
Beautiful. It's so gorgeous down there. It's green. It's so green and vibrant and just healthy down there, man. I love it.
I love it, man. This is my home. I've only been here for about 10 years. But this is like, my mom's still asking when I'm coming back to Florida, and I'm telling her, you're still asking me this?
I mean, the humidity, I would never give that. I would never go back to the southern humidity, brother. I couldn't do it. Not for me.
No, man, that was one of the main reasons why I left. There's, among other reasons, but yeah, there's things that I do miss about Florida. Definitely the Cuban fish,
gators.
We had that specific Miami crippy weed that was down there for a really long time. That was basically that northern lights cut with the Afghani, the most top sativa with the most crossed.
That's
and
crazy.
that's like the Miami weed.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's such extremes for that climate too. That's so interesting to hear that that's how that goes for what
Yeah.
they chose to go with.
Oh yeah. And then they just gave it that
Oh, wow.
neon green frost, that beautiful neon green that everybody's, in Miami,
Yeah.
like you recognize it real quick when you saw it in that little rolled up Ziploc.
I love it. So Manny, Mitch and I have a series of questions we would love to kind of go through with you. We want to educate the people about, who you are, the company you guys and what y'all do. You guys have a special place here in my heart in California because I use RSO and full spectrum oil products. I use a variety of these kinds of whole plant extracts. And when the more and more I talk to bud tenders, they just don't know what they're talking about. They don't really know what they're selling. And so I've been wanting to go straight to the people that make these items. And your guys' stuff is available at Mother Nature's Remedy here in the Woodland Hills area of California. And I've been purchasing it from me, my mother, and my girlfriend. And so I would love for you to kind of just share a little bit of information about Bird Valley and who you guys are and what you do.
Awesome. Well, Bird Valley Organics. We've been here for about 10 years. We moved here from Miami. Me and Terry, we started this company. Bird Valley Organics was started in 2017. We rebranded the company that we used to have in the medical days and we originally came out with our full spectrum oils as a dabbing product, right? Like we're talking before shatter. We're talking wax when they were calling it earwax, right? When like the first started coming out, and before that, everybody was taking hot ass dabs on titanium nails.
710.
Hot ass dabs. Yep, with full spectrum oils, right? Or what they call in some places, depends on the extraction, depends on whatnot. But yeah, so when dabs started becoming popular, especially like in the Bay Area, and we had just moved to Oakland from Miami, we had pulled in our 28-foot Penske truck 5 days with our 3 dogs, our ferrets, our cat, and our gecko, and we went all across the country. True story. And the biggest worry that I had coming in was because we were smuggling the ferrets. Apparently ferrets are illegal in California, and I figured that out on the way. And I don't know if you've been on the I-10 coming into Cali, and then that check center that they have there, and we were shitting bricks. We literally had a whole plan as to like what I was gonna do if they found the ferrets. And so I was literally gonna run through the goddamn desert with my ferrets. Like they were not.
That is so freaking funny.
Yeah, and we pulled up. We pulled up to our rental house in Oakland, and the plan was to go indoors. And so we're gonna go to Oakland University. Back in Miami, the hype was about. And I saw a documentary that was in 2004. I was just like, "What the fuck, man? I gotta be there. School is teaching you how to grow weed." And it was just mind-blowing to me, man. I've been a weed guy since I was 12. I've selling nicks and dimes. And I've always been a fan of the plant. And when I heard that this was going on in Cali, so I took a trip out here with Terry, and we went to some dingy ass dispensary that just had the open, the little open light. And to me, bro, that was the most beautiful sight I've ever seen in a really long time. To be able to walk into a building that had a menu, and it was fire too, man. At that time, like the GDPs were really popular. And
do you remember that first shop?
I do. I don't even think it had a name. It was like it was in an LBC. For sure.
Didn't even have a name. That's so good. That's classic. That's classic.
Just
I love
that
it.
fire. Had that fire. And that was 2006, 2007. So, good old days, right? And and we decided to move, that seed was planted ahead. And then we were guava farmers in Miami, for Farmers Pro, which is kind of what started our journey into where we're at today as a regenerative farm. But we ran a commercial guava farm, and we we sold all up and down the East Coast. And I saw, firsthand what industrial ag can do, and the does, and the pesticides that you got to be applying on these plants on a weekly basis. That goes straight to the board, And as long as you don't spray 2 weeks before you harvest your fruit, it's good to go. And I think there was something just inherently wrong about putting these poisons on these guavas and then sending them out to market, even though we were taught, that was. And we come down to California and we became indoor farmers. Like I told you, we pulled into Oakland and we went to Oaksterdam just to see when semester started, and we landed here March 6th, and they're like, oh yeah, classes start March 7th, tomorrow. We're like, oh shit. Well, sign us up. We're just unloading our mattresses off of the U-Haul or the Penske truck and sleeping on the mattress. Mm-hmm. We didn't even get to unload our stuff for like little by little throughout that week, because we started school full time. 8 to 4 Monday, full-time job, because we took a fast track class. We're like, we don't got no time to waste. So we started with 6 lights, 6, 8, and we pulled off a pound per light on 600 watts. And we were champagne bottle. We were like, what's first round? We were like, damn, dude, this is amazing. So we got gully and we switched to another room that was bigger. We're gonna get more lights, and we bought 4 more lights, but then we fucked it all up because we spaced them way too far. We went in there and didn't have our tighting that we wanted. Like just basically everything that we remember coming out of school, like measuring everything to the T and everything like super scientific. We in the second semester and in the second round, we're like, propose. We're gonna pull off 2 pounds per and we ended up
the foundation. Let's go.
It was, dude, we were so stupid because we ended up getting a 1/4 pound per light, and then we ended up freaking starving for like the last of our next turn, because we were literally like, how people live paycheck to paycheck, we were living turn to turn. Yeah. And because we just kept coming out to Cali with the only money we had for 6 months of rent, and to get all of our equipment, and to pay for Oaksterdam, and to be able to eat for 6 months. After that, we were on our own. And we made it through, man. Here it's incredible, the journey. But now we run a regenerative farm. We have a commercial ag property. We grow an acre. We're set to grow 2 acres this next year. And we grow in a method called hugelkultur. That is a form of regenerative farming where you bury these logs. We did these long trenches, and then you bury old logs, preferably from your property or from neighboring areas, mostly because you don't want to introduce foreign microbes from other areas, not because they won't take well, but just because it'll take longer to acclimate. Mm-hmm. So if you could just keep it same crew in the area, they tend to get along faster and acclimate. Mm-hmm. And so what we did was we took all the garbage from our property, literally garbage, right? Brush, leaves, green leaf, anything you could find. That was strategic too. Like we didn't get redwood branches because they're sick. We don't want to get any eucalyptus or anything like that has pine, any kind of pine, because that pine needle, it's very hard to break down. And so you don't want that. You want ideally oak wood or madrone. And so what you do is you bury these logs. First you dig the trench, you lay the logs down, huge logs. Mm-hmm. And then you put sticks on logs, and you cover the logs with the sticks. Makes it kind of look like a huge eagle nest, right? Wow. And then after the sticks, then you start putting in your green. So your sticks is your carbon, along with your logs of wood, and then we put in green for the nitrogen. And you can use yard trimmings. You can use freaking green from your property. You don't want things like willow, and you don't want things that'll survive and grow out of your garden, out of your, ideally you want to be selective about your green, but pretty much any green works. And then you build basically what is called a lasagna, right? So when you the pile of dirt that's on the side of the hole that you just double dug, you're not going to put that dirt back on there, but you're going to do it in 2 sections. So once you do the logs, your sticks, your brown leaves, your green leaves, now what we do is called first dirt. So half that dirt goes on that pile. So then we do the, so now here comes the sticks on top of that dirt, more brown leaves, more green leaves, final dirt, straw. Oh yeah, and we're throwing worm cat in every layer of the lasagna too. Forgot to add that important factor. And that's pretty much
gotta have the worm castings, man.
Gotta have the worm castings, and I think worm castings are great, but I won't take you down that rabbit hole. But worm castings are one of the best forms of biology that you can add to your hugels or any kind of plant. And so what we did was
the big reason why there's like good soil and bad soil, right? A lot of what they leave behind is great for the earth.
Nobody does it better than nature, right? And so we as humans try to play God as much as possible, right? You know, we want to put a fan thinking that that's going to be the wind. We thinking that's going to be the sun. And in actuality, you know, nobody does it better than nature, right? Like nature's been doing it way longer than us, growing these plants perfectly fine. And so, you know, I've been in unpopular conversations, down talk monocrops, and the only reason why I down talk monocrops is because I know that there's no future in that. There's no sustainability in a monocrop, and the reason for that is because you take one example, a forest, right? When was the last time you went on a hike in a forest and seen the same tree over and over and over and over in a perfect, no grass, no other plants around it, black dirt, right? That doesn't happen in nature, right? And the reason for that is because all those other plants that are there, right? If you had a football team, you wouldn't just want a bunch of quarterbacks, right? Quarterback's the one that gets all the attention. Quarterback's the highest paid player on the team. You know, he's probably the prettiest player on the team. You don't want a bunch of quarterbacks, right? Because then who the hell's going to be your fullback? Who's going to tackle somebody? Your quarterback ain't going to tackle nobody. So in order to even make it to the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl, you need your running backs, you need your fullbacks, you need everybody who plays a specific role that may not be able to do the other role, but plays up for the ultimate goal, which is to win. So that's the idea behind it.
What point did you make the jump from going indoor to growing outdoor, and what kind of scale did you start at when you started outdoor?
Good question. So we did indoor for about 2 years. And we were able to enough money to buy, put a down payment for a property in Aptos in the mountains. And this is when we, you know, resorted to complete hippiedom. Because, you know, we came out here to do a cannabis business, right? And when we come out here, we realize, oh, you can't brand. Oh, you can't have a bank. It can't be seen. Oh, you still get arrested. Oh, your neighbor can't know what you're doing. It's just like, what the fuck? Is this legal or what? And so we're just like left with this like lemon that we're like, you know, lemonade, right? We're just gonna come in here and we're just gonna make lemonade. And we decided to do that. So we moved up to the mountains. We lived off the grid in a little 26-foot travel trailer, big reduction from what we were doing. And we just went outdoors in the mountains in the redwood forest. And that time we were making the switch to organic farming. But my understanding of what organic was, the back guano helps. You know, what is it? I was still using GH at the time. What is the bioweed? All the different GH organic products, hella pricey, to not really get the results. Not to knock GH. It's knocking the form of nutrients that we're getting in, right? Like the efficacy of what you would get cold pressed seaweed versus your own cold pressed seaweed is night and day, right?
Interesting.
And so like we have the ocean here, right? Like you're allowed to collect your own sea kelp from the ocean. You're allowed to, per person, 1 5-gallon in California per the Fish and Game. And so as long as it's on the taking it from the ocean, it's fair game. So what you do is you grab all that, we like to get bull kelp specifically. You rinse it up, get all that silicone, all that sand off, and then chop it all up, and then make a compost tea out of.
Wow!
It just and you have some of the best nutrients you can have right there for free. And so the journey for us was, we get to this, and I'm like, okay, I need to order pallets of Happy Frog. I need to get baguanos. I need to get all this stuff. All right, to the store, and then they give me a quote, and it's like, what? Oh yeah, you're gonna need like 62 grand. And I'm like, I'm gonna need 62 grand to pull out harvest, and I'm only 9 plants because that was the Santa Cruz law. Like Santa Cruz had one of the best limits for plant count at the time. In the medical days, it was 99 plants as long as you had them in. And then you had a medical recommendation for every patient, laminated at every 10 by 10 plot. Like we did that. Like all my neighbors laughed at me on that mountain, right? Planting thousands of plants, and they come up and they were basically laughing at us, like, put more plants in, Manny. You guys have 10 acres. Like put them in. And we decided to our little 5,000 square foot garden the way it was, and we're like, you know what? We're not gonna risk it. I came here to not go to jail. If I wanted to do it, if I wanted to risk going to jail, I would have stayed Sammy, And so there was no going back to any. Like we made it a point to every single gram, every single bit of oil was sold in the California. Now we'd starve, and with that mentality, we were able to strive. I mean, it was very tempting. I mean, you have no idea. I grew up in Miami. I have no idea how many people I know down there. Like I could really, really easily move stuff if I wanted to in those days. And I was like, you know what? No, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Help. And so it was just one of those situations where we're at this farm and we're getting ready to grow this. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? So I read this book called Teaming with Microbes, and I recommend that to every single person. Teaming with Microbes, TEAM, like a team, but teaming with microbes, right? And and it's by Jeff Lowe.
Like you're working with them.
So what I love about that book, once you read that book, then you end the rabbit hole, because then you're like, whoa, what else is out there, right? Like you can make your own nutrients with the stuff around you. And it was like, to me, mind-blowing, right? To understand how plants intake nutrients, right? It's like we're fertilizers, and we're used to an immediate result, right? We're feeding simple ions directly to the root zone, right? And so you're a middleman. But in this situation, this is one of those situations where you don't cut out the middleman, right? The middleman works for you for free, and they do the job better than you, and it's billions of them, right?
Yeah.
And
microbes.
And the microbes are the plants are designed to take nutrients through the microbes, right? The plants photosynthesize and then they release exudates or sugars through the root zones to microbes, and then the microbes in turn give them calcium, give them the magnesium, give them the nitrogen, give them all the macros and micros that they need, right there. So once I learned that that's what it's like, simple things like, don't pick up your yard trimmings in your lawn, because that's gonna compost, and that's how hide themselves, right? In the wintertime, they drop all their leaves in the fall, and then green leaves, then brown leaves on top of the green, right? And then winter comes, here comes your water. So what do you need for compost? Water, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. Those are your ingredients for compost. And so the trees take care of themselves single year, and it was mind-blowing to me. It's something so simple. It's right in front of your face, right? Like you can chew this. And to put that to your cultivation, right, was a journey, right? Because like, hey, who the hell wants to change their systems, right? Like I got a recipe, right?
Yeah, especially when all the big hype people are using, all the indoor models and shit, right? All the steroids and shit originally, back in the day, the big crazy bud shit,
And it's what you're taught. It's what you're taught. You know what I mean? It's like you got to now deviate to a whole other teaching from one book, one dude. And of course, I read all this other stuff and realized like how these plants, do their thing, and just learned how to help, how to steward this control. And that was the biggest challenge. And so that was how, to that point, it was basically from organic derived nutrients. And when I tell people all the time, like, what is the difference between organic and regenerative? I'll tell you, regenerative uses nature. regenerative mimics nature to the best of its ability, right? Organic is still using store-bought nutrients, right? You're getting a bat guano from the hydro shop. Sure, it was derived from a turd from a bat, but when you read that date, it says July 2024, and it's sitting on a shelf. What do you think is sitting in that bat shit? You know, no pile of shit is gonna sit on a shelf and be good. Right? So there's obviously something there. So you have to open your minds to that, right? And so with all the testing that we're doing now with the heavy metals, billion, right? Like everything's coming out, and so you know, you
can't hide it anymore. You can't hide it anymore.
You can't hide it. So
unless they're falsifying their records, which we've seen in Cali here,
which is happening a lot too.
Yep,
it's happening a lot too over here too.
We need these brands to be held. We need these brands to be held accountable. We need these labs to be held accountable, man. We need the people, the consumers, to care more about what they're putting in their bodies, in their lungs, what they're dabbing, ingesting, eating, smoking, drinking, all of these things. Brands like you guys and helping to explain the difference between those two, it's huge. Because just because people are buying organic, what does that mean in cannabis when that's not even legally allowed to be called any, when that's not even legally allowed to be applied on anything, hemp or cannabis at the end of the day.
You know what I mean?
So
like why are we scrutinized, but the tomatoes store are not being tested for heavy metals? Right? Or the strawberries.
Preach! Keep going. Name them.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when you really start diving into that hole, that rabbit hole right there, you really start to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. And things were set up a certain way back when for certain rhymes and reasons for pockets.
100. And
it was all from back in the day. Yeah, before we were born.
100%. And so we at Bird Valley are focused on trying to empower the to heal themselves, right? To not depend on their government, to not depend on pharma, to not depend on marketing. Figure it out on your own and see what's actually good and how you can heal yourself. Like I'd actually personally be happier with somebody to grow their own tomato versus them buying my oils. Literally, that fulfills me more. Fulfills me more. I feel like that's more of a difference. That trickles down, right? That person who was that stoked to plant a tomato or build a Hugo bed because they hear me talking about it, or when they send us a DM saying, "Man, look at what I did in my backyard because of you guys." That is what keeps me going. That motivates living hell out of me.
That's real.
And the thing is that personally, I'm motivated of all plants. I'm motivated of all nature. I'm motivated of human health, right? And it's all. And so why am I going to categorize it? It's all one. It's all one big connection. You can't have one without the other. You can't have without healthy plants, right? And so that's part of the conundrum. And I'm just as passionate about kale as I am about OGs or hazes, right? I'm just as passionate about it, and they can help each other.
I ain't never heard kale and OG in the same sentence before. I'll buck with that.
They complement each other, man. Like you garden and you're gonna see bud at the same time. You're gonna see a daikon radish. You're gonna see an Odessa squash. You're gonna see lemon basil. All right there next to the cannabis.
So do you guys have plans to be able to have like bud tenders, or do you guys have buyers and staff out to the farm and doing those kinds of things yet as part of like the brand experience?
Yeah,
that's awesome. So bud tenders gotta come through.
And they loved it, man. We just did a companion planting because we're a permaculture farm, so we do. And so I was able to get a bunch of bud tenders out here to plant veggies, right? Like they're not allowed to plant my cannabis. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the free labor for the camp. BCC wouldn't have been too happy about that. But we were able to get free labor for the veggies, man. Like they were able to plant plant all of our veggies, 1,200 veggies. And so I said, yeah, come dispensaries, come help us plant and learn. And so we made it an educational seminar to where come learn how to cannabis with no inputs. Come learn how to grow cannabis and other plants with whatever you got in your home, you know? And they were stoked, man. Stoked, you know? People are on a budget. You know, nobody can afford these $60 eighths these days, man. You know, that designer weed is you know, you even ask buyers and they're just like, yeah, you know, how much of this $60, $70 eighths are you getting? Oh, I'm getting a case. Fuck, really? You guys are buying a case, 2 cases, 32 eighths? Like, yeah, like, you know, you're not getting, are probably great at $60 an eighth, but like the consumer's not, right? Because like I'll never pay more than $35 an eighth. It better be fire if I pay 35, right? And I just come from that world. And I made it a point that I want our weed to not be sold for that high. I don't care how fire it is. I don't care if it's a 38 million %, you know? It doesn't matter, right? Make it affordable for the people, you know? I'm not after, you know, I'm not after the one night stand. I'm after that Tuesday Joe. You know what I mean? That's who I want smoking. And then for our oils, you know, it's all about the healing. You know, our full spectrum oil is very unique. I'm sure you're probably going to ask me about that one soon too. Here's our full spectrum.
I got it right here on the camera. I got it right here on the camera for us.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, there we go.
So I found two. Here's the evolution of our box. I have our original box. Tell me, and I'd like to get what you think. Like our original box, then the new one.
See, I have on my screen. You're frozen, so I gotta see if Mitch. Are you able to see it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The new one is cleaner. I like the old one though too.
Oh, there we go. I'll be honest. I like the new one because to me it has the current compliant, all these things it takes, and this is the side of the brand that I'm familiar with the most. So for me, I'm already brand familiar to this. I think it only goes up and maybe bring some of the positive things that you liked on the last one with it. You know what I mean?
The terpenes and all the information right there on the front.
Love it. To me, that's some of the most crucial information.
Yep.
It's absolutely crucial. Like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, the that jack terp, right? That sour terpinolene, right? So some of those products for me, huge THCV, sweet, sour. You really get this focus and this energetic burst. That's one of my favorite terpene profiles. I really prefer love stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when it comes to our oils, you know, what I come to find out is you leave that damn plant alone, the better it is, right? And so what that means is I'm when the coming out, when the isolate started coming out, I thought, wow, 99%. Holy shit, like I just thought evolutionary is gonna change the game. And then you start smoking it, and then you're like, man, this is whack, you know? Like this is just not cutting it for me. And you're like, how are these percentages, right? Because I come from those worlds where you know you're educated later on, and you're like, yeah, percentages are nothing, right? But even back then, percentages always meant something. Even in the medical day, they were always chasing that percentage. And before, you didn't even have like you were stoked to get a 20% on your weed. Like what? Like, recreational came around, and it's like 30-20. You know,
right?
It's like if you were pulling, like there's buyers that won't even take your stuff if you're not 25 or up, you know? And it's like, it doesn't matter if you have a 2% terpene profile on your flower, that doesn't matter because it needs to be 25% THC and up. And so that's one of the biggest educational when it comes to the full spectrum oils too, because it's like people say, how does your 60-something percent THC hit me harder than this 80-something percent or 90-something percent or distillate? And the reason for that is like I said, leaving the plant alone, right? Entourage effect. Nobody can combine these compounds, these chemicals, these phenols, these esters, these terpenoids, all these different components that this can produce better than us. You let it do its thing. And so when it comes to extractions, we're on the fact of just extracting whole plant as is. We do an N-butane extraction, and I will go toe-to-toe with anybody who tells me that is not the best process. Because we've gone through the ringer with all kinds of stuff. I've made RSO, and I'll go into the difference between RSO and FSO. But I've made RSO before. Not to knock RSO, right? Everything has its purpose, and everything is good for specific things, right? If I had skin cancer, first thing I'd want, it would be an RSO, right? More so than an FSO. If I was
why is that? If you don't mind, why is that?
The reason for that is because usually with RSOs, you're aiming for high delta 9, right? You're aiming for high THC.
Okay.
And with like an or like an alcohol grain extraction, you can reach that point because they're boiling points pretty much too. Like when you gotta purge all that ethanol back out, you gotta heat it to a decent temp to be able to burn all that stuff. But in the meantime, you're also burning off you're burning off some of this other stuff.
Yeah.
You're burning off cannabinoids. And so what I found as a better supplement, as medicine for neurodegenerative diseases, epilepsy, stuff that has more of the plant, stuff that has the terpenes, right? Any kind of concentrate that has terpenes along with the cannabinoids in it too. If we had an RSO, we wouldn't have many terpenes in it because we'd be burning it all off, you know? Plus, that's why it's so huge for us to be putting our terpenes prevalent on our box. You'll notice that other RSOs that are out there in the market list terpenes. Hell, I've even tried finding on their website to see if they list the terpene oils, and nothing, no terpenes listed. And it's listed for that. You'd want to announce it, right? This is medicine, right? If it's medicine,
that's part of the reason why we really wanted to work with you guys on this episode is because, you know, I started as a bud tender at our store in Diego in Pellicer in Seattle in 2016, and we launched the store and we're medically certified. We were immediately serving patients, you know, from day one, conversations at a high level. And RSO in Seattle and full spectrum oil were both individually sold as one being one and one being the other. And to this day, we never knew the difference, which is why I asked, why would you want to pick one versus the other in certain scenarios, right? And the reality is you know, the heat burning off the terpenes and the cannabinoids definitely impacts it. And the full spectrum oil being able to showcase the terpenes like you're mentioning, it just gives more of a centralized, targeted experience, right? Terpenes are known for certain things. Certain ones have historically done certain things with humans. We've documented this. And I personally, like I said, I gravitated towards your guys because showing terpenes on there, like, wow, I know this one's going to do inflammation. I know this one's going to be good for kind of taking away pain with some THC, but at the same time, the THCV in it is going to make me not have munchies at all. So I can take this at night and not be eating late at night, you know? Just so many, like you guys showing that on your packaging was absolutely huge to me. It really stood out against the other brands here in the state. I love what they do. I utilize their product as well. I think there's a product for every scenario. But yeah, being able to have a conscious and make a conscious decision was huge. And especially with that kind of level of branding and education, I applaud you guys for that. I really, really love that. As a patient myself. Again, guys, I have one of the items here. It's not in packaging, but you know, when we're talking full spectrum oils, we're talking, you know, medicinal. This is a medical grade syringe. We're talking about the oil extract here right inside. They've got the little tag here with instructions on the back for you to follow. I mean, for me personally, I put a little bit on my finger. I eat it, rub it on the roof of my mouth. I don't know why I enjoy it like that. That's just me. At this point, I kind of like the taste of the weed now, right? I think we all kind of get to that point where we appreciate the realness of it, right? So I definitely didn't think I would be sitting here eating, you know, these kinds of items back when I was 19 and 20, 21, when I first started smoking weed for me. But I love this stuff. For me, this has kept me out of hospitals. So I have IBS and
That's awesome.
kidney stones, and Crohn's is kind of my thing. And so for me, the CBD versions do a great job of keeping my engine going. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I'm just absolutely
Yeah.
dying. So
Have you ever tried our
huge.
Cremedy oil? Have you ever
No,
tried
I
our
was actually
Cremedy
just.
oil?
Uh, would you actually tell me a little bit about it? Because I literally just was on your website, and that was the one that stood out with the orange branding.
Yeah, so a collaboration that we did with Creme de Cana, neighbors of ours, they also do our extractions for us. You know, pre-recreational, I was the one doing all the extractions. And then when we were like, you know what, that's one monster I'm not going to tackle, manufacturing. We went in cultivation, and that was enough monsters. And Creme has been doing it for a really long time. I mean, these guys have been extracting since back in the day, and so I trusted their ability, and basically I gave them our SOP as to how we wanted it. No winterization, no removing of any lipids, waxes. You know, I want to leave all intact, and they've been doing it. And so we did this collaboration with them because at first in 2018 we weren't really able to cultivate, and so we had to outsource our biomass for our oils for our networking. Network brands, and luckily we distribute for only 3 brands, and also within a 10-mile radius from each other. And so like
Wow.
I was like, I reached out, you know what, we're gonna get this thing going, and we created a 4 that we didn't have as a ratio, and that thing we entered into the Emerald Cup and in place this year for best CBD concentrate.
Hell
and then
yeah.
our high CBD won 2nd place for best CBD concentrate. So we literally took the 1st and 2nd spot at the Emerald Cup finally for years, man.
Man, congratulations.
Years.
Big ups on that.
Thank you, man. It was a long time coming, man. I've been going to that damn for years with Terry, and we've seen the evolution of like us sitting in there looking at all the different products. Like one day we're gonna and just kicking back, smoking, and listening to Revolution or the Roots or whoever was there, and here we are now. We've entered 3 times since basically since recreational started, and so 3rd time's a charm, and we took it this year, and for us we feel like it was a long time because when we first came out, there was no CBD companies, there was nobody doing CBD, like we were like the early birds. CBD came out before the words were a buzzword.
THC, indoor flower, high THC, and disty, man. Hit me with it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine me trying to sell CBD.
Right? People weren't buying health and wellness yet. They were just smoking about it.
They weren't, man.
It was an era.
With us, yeah, it was. And, for us, it's crazy. Like, our CBD journey, what took us there. We were THC recreational smoker. I dab, 20, 30 times a day. I smoke a lot of weed, man. Just weed. And I like stuff that gets you high. And so my partner ended up getting a scare. She ended up getting a growth on her breast, and we were like, oh shit, she had a surgery date that and then the MRI showed vascular growth. So there was already like vascular circulation going through there. Scary. So they said they needed to get it out. So we had a surgery planned out, and we're like, you know what? Let's try a holistic approach. And I tell people all the time, it wasn't just our oil that did this, right? Like oil was a part of the full-on ingredient. But when I say holistic, it's never one thing, right? And that holds true for the word holistic for anything. It's a combination of things. And I don't know if I would have removed one of these things if it would have gotten the same results. But it was basically no fluoride, vegetable juicing multiple times a day, and 80 milligrams of CBD full spectrum oil a day, every single day. And when we went back to the doctor to get her pre-op MRI, in other words, we had surgery in a couple days, They had to do an MRI before the surgery, and the thing it was literally eliminated, obliterated. And so we saw a lot of walking around the room, and the doctors kept leaving the room. They kept on coming back, asking us questions. They left, they come back. We're just like, fuck. And it was like, it was aside from like the emotion, the crying, the disbelief, the wow, right? It catapulted us in that direction. And so Terry was like, we're gonna plant our whole garden CBD. And I'm like, babe, we can't freaking do that shit. How are we gonna sell that? Let's try 30%, 40% of the garden, and then we'll go from there. And she's like, let's do that. And then I was like, okay. So I managed to convince her to do 20% THC and the rest of the garden CBD. And we ended up coming out. And of course, I was like, you know what? With the THC farmers, maybe there was 10 CBD farmers. And so we had our niche. And so, even though it was a very niche category, and so for us, it was pretty easy. We were selling up and down the whole state. We drive all the way to San Diego, start in San Diego, working our way up, and then finish up in Santa Barbara, and eat dinner in Santa Barbara, and then drive off Santa Cruz.
Wow.
And that's what we were doing, and we were teaching people about our oils and explaining to people like why this oil is magnificent and why you want it, and about it that we were giving it away most of the time to a lot of people. And if like you told me you had an ailment, you couldn't afford it, I'd give you a whole bag. Like we throw it out the damn lot to somebody. Like it was just because I knew that if they took it, it would heal them. I knew it. And I was like, you know what? You have cancer? Like, holy shit! Like, just here, take this 5-gallon bucket of fucking oil and take it to your house, and don't, And I think
it be like that. It really be like that sometimes, man. Sometimes you really like. There's no other options left that they're being given, and so it's like the reality is that there actually is some options left. They just weren't legally able to be told that they were options. Right. So. Even for me and my,
your doctor sends you home to die.
Mine sent me to Walmart for a Omeprazole, and that was supposed to help my kidney stones and IBS and acid and all the other stuff. It was just supposed to be the end all be all, some pill that's on the end cap at Walmart. Couldn't do it. Love. I smoke a lot less than I do. I go in stages where I just smoke tons of flower, And being here in Cali, and I'm in LA, so surrounded by all this crazy LA weed and these genetics and strains from up north, and you guys, all the crazy greenhouse, mixed light, outdoor, all this stuff. I love it all. I never smoked this before I got here, and so every part of what you're talking about, I really am attracted to because it is niche. This is craft. You are one of the few people doing what you do in all of North America. It's a beautiful thing to be able to learn about these nitrogens and the carbons and the green and the brown and the logs and all these things, because not everyone can do that outside in all these in their environments, right? You coming from Florida, you certainly wouldn't be able to do that with the crazy moisture and gators and all this crazy stuff out there, right? Boa constrictors coming in your garden. That's different, So I think in all seriousness though, I think it's really awesome what you guys do. I would love to kind of go back to a little bit of the products. Do you have any of the items there with you by chance?
I just have these boxes. Unfortunately, you know what? There's an oil in here. Unfortunately, with compliance, man, I can't really have too much stuff at the house.
I hear you.
This is luckily one we purchased because I literally have to go and buy my own product at the store.
I'm with you on that, man. That's what I got to do for my SAMs for my job, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Yeah, so you basically. Still broken receipt. So it's the same oil that you have there, your Rush Relief.
Yep.
Pull it out here. So syringes, and the joke back in the day was like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Put it in my arm? No, you're not. It's an oral syringe. Oral.
Yep.
And so we would, I would joke about it all the time, like this is how you give your kids medicine. This is how you give your dog medicine, right?
Yep.
If somebody who has MS, right, and they want to dose, they can dose properly, right? Also for dabbing, like you can actually oil, right?
Really?
I mean,
Yeah, I
mind you,
was
with
seeing
all the
that on the packaging.
yeah, no, you could totally dab it. I mean, remember, we started with this oil as a dabbing product. It was when we started making the day, it started off as a dabbing product, and then quickly, little by little, people were eating it more so than anything. And so we started promoting it as that. Like when people started us and telling us like, yeah, you know, we're eating it for this and we're eating it for that and we're using it for this. It's like I'm dumping a whole high CBD in my coffee every morning, or you know, all these different things that we would hear people doing, right? It was like, whoa, okay, cool, man. That's pretty dope. I like that. And you know, we felt it's so important that if we're gonna be making sin, right, and if we're gonna be doing something that's different than the pharmaceutical industry, we needed to be perfect. It needed pure, right? And I think that what a lot of people are missing is that first chapter of the book, right? Of the what I like to call the book of wellness. And in the book of wellness, you have several chapters, and let's say your health people and your doctors, they know chapters 4 through 12, right? They feel like they've read the whole book. They don't realize missing chapters 1 through 3. They don't realize of how Western medicine is the same as commercial or industrial agriculture. It's half-assed, right? It's half-assed to half-assed to heal, right? In medicine, you know, you have a headache, and then they give you a pill for your headache. They don't want to ask you like, hey, well, how much? You know, what did you eat? Are you stressed? You know, what's going on as to why this headache came to be, right? It's like, here, take this pill for your headache. And so it's the same thing when it comes to the plants, right? And so what we try to teach is like, there's this beginning part to the growth of these plants that make the plant healthier in order for the human healthier when they consume them. And it's that missing piece that a lot of people don't realize, right? They think they look at it, see it green, and they see it healthy. It looks healthy, right? But it's like the dude who works out every single day, uses steroids, probably has a haircut but doesn't eat good, eats Doritos every single day, probably is up all night, does drugs, drinks every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like looks like they're perfect, but on the inside they're shit, right? And that is our food. That is our food. Our food is beautiful on the outside. Get these beautiful tomatoes that'll hold 28 days in a container and ship perfectly fine, and all the distributors are happy, but the people consuming it are not getting nutrients whatsoever, any nutritional value, and they're basically just eating rubbish, right? And so here we are, generations of people eating rubbish. That's why we have all the health
over and over again
epidemic that we have going on, which is it brings me back to my point, right? The full spectrum be different. You have to track it all the way down to its inception, right? You have to track it to the beginning. So for a fact, the whole route was clean, right? I don't want to know that it was dirty in the beginning and then cleaned up at the end, right? That's you know, not ideal. It's accepted. It's acceptable. We live in a world where that's acceptable. And we choose to make that not acceptable for us.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, we've been, force fed this whole system, right? Even, all three of us here haven't been around long enough to have even ever had a chance to have been outside of that until we got to the point where we could do the things ourselves, until you could create your own farm and start growing your own veggies. And now, luckily, people in a lot of places are becoming more friendly to growing things at home themselves and doing a lot of these stuff. And so it's very exciting. Mitch, do you have anything else for Manny and here on this episode?
Man, I'm honestly just blown away to come from some guava farmer on the East Coast to cannabis farmer on the West Coast, man. That sounds like a fucking journey.
It is a journey, man. It hasn't been easy. You know, we're a bootstrap company. You know, we no, there's no outside investment for our company, right?
Mhm.
It's like me and Terry just basically, you know, pulled out loans and got ourselves in major debt to be able to do this. But, you know, we're lucky that every 3 months we're not sitting down with some East Coast VC going over spreadsheets and losing hair every single 3 months, right? Like at least we don't deal with that, right? Like we're one of those cannabis companies that still today in still alive today, and you know, past survival mode and now into thriving mode. And you know, we did it all on our backs. We did it all with a team that we have. You know, me and Terry would not be able to do this if it wasn't for the team that we have. You know, we're down to I think we have 13 members now.
Wow.
A great distro manager named Sasha, a great director of sales named Dana, great drivers. Jeffs are stellar. They know the product, drink the Kool-Aid, right? Like they can't be a rep for Bird Valley if they don't believe in regenerative farming. Like, you know, I tell them all the time, like you better never show up to a buyer Doritos bag. You know, that's just not kosher, right? Like you're not, you know, you're representing something way bigger than you, you know. And you know, I went out and opened up the first like 60 dispensaries by myself. We couldn't afford to hire a sales team. We couldn't afford to hire a sales, and we figured our product was so niche. And we met with all the big guys that I won't name. I'm sure you guys will interview them at some point. The big distributors, and we were just like, yeah, you know, screw that 30% that you guys are asking for. And you're not going to be able to sell our full spectrum oils the way we expect you to. So we're just going to do this ourselves. Where the distribution came from. Like, we were not ever planning on being a distribution company. We're just like, if we're going to stay alive and sell oils, we need to. And I couldn't trust any rep. Imagine, like, you come from the 215 days. Like, we did everything ourselves. We grew the plants ourselves, extracted the oil. I packed it into the syringes. Terry would label the syringes. Terry would email the buyers, out there gardening with me. We drive it all over the state. Two-man team for almost a decade. And, you know, we couldn't trust people. And it was a difficult thing. And then to hire people, we couldn't afford it. So I basically said, you know what, I'm going to hit up the state. And I wasn't planning on doing LA. I did NorCal. But we had an account called Bloom in Oakland that has a shopping. And they were like, listen, if you're going to sell to us, and there was a big account at the time. If you're going to sell to us, you got to sell to our shop in Santa Ana. And I was just like, oh my God, dude, we really need this account. So what are we going to do? So I'm like, fuck it. Santa Ana, whenever they place their order. And so that's when I started opening up Santa Ana. I'm like, you know what? Let me open up a couple of accounts in Santa Ana. So it'll make sense when I do these drops. And then sure enough, so then we're in Santa Ana for a really long time. We basically just owned Orange County. Where else in LA? I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my Southern California drops one spot, Santa Ana, do it all one day, come back. And then that quick snowballed. And then once I saw myself with like 60 something dispensaries in NorCal and in SoCal, working 7 days a week, nonstop. Okay, we're selling products now. People know who we are. We're in dispensaries. I could hand off NorCal to a sales rep who we hired at the time. Her name was now our director of sales, but she was our first sales rep. And I handed her to NorCal accounts. So she basically ran all of Northern California. And then I started opening up more Southern California. So then I became the Southern California rep and no longer the NorCal SoCal rep. And then so I would drive down every single week to SoCal to these, and then the next day open up more accounts, come back the next week, do deliveries, open up more accounts, and so on. And now here we are, almost 200 shops in the state. You know, two hubs now. We just opened up our Southern California hub. We were literally just doing the drives to LA from our NorCal hub till the other day.
Nice.
To last week.
That's exciting.
So
moves.
And we sell to about 60 something shops in LA. and we do that drive every single week from NorCal, which is not easy. Do you imagine our Jason? Like he's we call him the road warrior. I mean, that guy, he basically he's a rapper. He's always freestyling. So he sits there and plays his beats on the road and freestyles the whole way and comes up with songs and shit. And then tape and send me a video clip like, yo, Manny, check out my. And he knows I'm a big hip hop head, which was another reason why I was happy to be on your. Yes, dude, cannabis and hip hop, like my two loves. Like, that was amazing. Like, I love that. I love the fact that you guys are bridging that because they've always been connected, right? Like hip hop and cannabis, like they've been married, bro. They, been.
Music is soothing to so many people. Cannabis is soothing, and the oils have really proven to become such quality and effective medicine, right? And it's exciting to see your guys' growth with your guys' distro and the hubs, and because ultimately you're gonna get this medicine more access, increase the patient access, right? More people, more budtenders are gonna learn and discover this, and at the end of the day, this is a great potential replacement for a lot of different things and ailments, right? This is a great supplement to people's lives. It's a great nutritional addition to people's lives. Putting it in your smoothies, putting it in your teas, straight up eating it, the classic grain of rice, right? There's so many different ways that full spectrum oil can really help improve people's life. If you take vitamins and minerals, if you come across things that you should add to your life, it's just a great thing to mix in with what you're already doing to be the healthiest person you can be at the end of the day. Before we get on out of here, though, Manny, if you're in the garden and we pull up on you one day, what's the hip hop track that's playing if we're pulling up?
Ask that.
I'll tell you what was playing today in the garden. I was listening to It Was Written, the Nas It Was Written album. And then went ahead and let me see, what else did we jump? Oh, Andres, my right hand man on the farm, he loves a lot of like Bay Area rap, a lot of Burner. He loves a lot of Wiz too. So we were definitely listening to Rolling Pace today. We're hearing some classics. There
we go.
Gin and Juice, because Gin and Juice was the first album I smoked to when I was 12. And it just came out. No, not Gin and Juice. Doggy Style, dude. Duh. The Snoop Dogg Doggy Style album. When it came out in the 90s, that when I smoked my first backwood. My first time smoked backwood, and it was with listening to that album. High as hell. Listening to that album, and I'll never forget an album because of it.
That's hilarious. That's a classic album. The
artwork
on it is iconic as well, man.
I love it.
Yeah. So we definitely switched it up. I love all hip hop, man. I grew up listening to New York hip hop, and in Miami we didn't have our own hip hop at the time. Now we do, right? We have Rick Ross, Khaled, all these of Miami, but in my day it was Luke, right? Like,
right.
That's it. And Vanilla Ice. Let's not forget Vanilla.
I didn't know that's Miami.
I know. I didn't. I was embarrassed to point out that he's from Miami, but he's from Miami. And then Trick Daddy came out. When Trick Daddy came out, it was like, yeah, somebody representing Miami, like for real, representing Miami. And then Pitbull. And Pitbull was, for me, it was really cool to see somebody Cuban like me, Cuban American, and so is Terry. We're both first American born, to see a Cuban rapper, because it's like, man, I was like, I used to freestyle, all my friends used to freestyle, and we're all Cuban and Hispanic. We're never gonna be rappers, just like we're never gonna be NBA stars, right? But man, we were good. we were we're like, they're never gonna accept us, but fire, man.
We got the representative in Pitbull, man. Well, super appreciate you joining us and shedding light on from just the techniques of farming to what goes into the products to just the overall like message around health. And I think a lot of what's centered in your messaging and clearly like on the packaging is getting people to be curious and investigating what they're putting in their body, why, and also just being aware, even just being aware of, not from why, from a bad, I put that in, I feel good or feel bad, but for, what do I get from it? It sounds a lot like how your approach to farming, of just being very intentional with the elements that come together. And that's definitely a big piece that's been missing from cannabis due to everybody, being in the illegal shadows for so long. And now we can have these conversations on fucking live streams, and not feel paranoid. And so this information is great, and just real big salute to you. I'm pushing the fight, man, because that's God's work right there.
Yeah, really appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. You guys have built something powerful. We very much appreciate your support and being with us here today, and helping spread, knowledge and info. So thank you guys. I'm excited to connect with you soon when we come through for the North American Weed Tour this year. I'm pumped. We'll have to set it up.
We'd love to have you guys over, man. That'd be awesome, dude. You're come to a farm where you see like shit. Can you tell what that is?
No,
that's a freaking microscope.
Dang.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. He's out here with it. Like I said, being intentional.
We ain't checking NPKs.
We're
looking at microbes.
We'll have to come through for sure. It's gonna be.
So we'll definitely be in contact about stopping out there, man. We'd love to come check it out. Love to come, man, cook up some meals with some of that fresh veggies grown in the cannabis too, man.
That's awesome. I love that. Thanks, man.
Sweet.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Manny. Where, just for people to be aware, where can they find you guys at? Obviously 200 dispensaries across California, but is there any you want to plug, Instagram, the website, anything like that?
Yeah, so totally. You can go to birdvalleyorganics.com and then hit up our store locator. It's updated pretty frequently, so you can definitely see where we're at there. Our Instagram is at birdvalleyorganics.com. I would also say Sun, our peeps, our partners, and follow Santa Cruz Canna Farms. We also distribute for them too. It's part of our ethos, people from our place.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you, Manny. Appreciate you having on, man. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Alrighty.
Well, that was interesting. I know you were hyped on talking to them for this episode. I know I had looked into them a little bit and talked to someone. I don't believe it was Manny, but I talked to someone from there about when we did the West Coast Weed Tour last year, and it was something we were trying to fit in. Didn't end up making it happen. After this conversation, definitely going to have to make that happen this year.
I'm definitely trying to see him do that lasagna in the earth, man. That was something that we hadn't seen in 50 visits to farms in Washington ever, or Oregon to places. So
yeah,
I'm very interested in that.
I feel like I've maybe heard, I don't know, and it might have been even talking to someone about Bird Valley, but I feel like I've heard that, but I don't think I've ever seen it. And then also, I know you noted it, but having the terpenes on full spectrum oil that you're eating, that's pretty rare. I don't see that. I don't know if I've ever seen that. But I think that's really cool, and it's obviously a big part of their ethos and what they do.
Definitely separates them apart from other people in the space here in California, from what I've seen on the West Coast as well. Meeting him and hearing about his, like you said, intentionally, I would say holistic approach to both his mindset and how they really go about, business, who they align themselves with, how they go about cultivating the products, the farms that they probably align themselves with in terms of their partners. A lot of what I've tried from them has worked very well. It's one thing, when you try multiple products from the same brand and you get a couple bad ones here and there, it's like sometimes that can be understandable, I guess, in some industries. But when you're talking about medicine, you're talking about really powerful, potent like sometimes they can really heal people. The consistency with this group is just, I would say, it's undeniable. So, big shout out to Manny and Terry and their entire team. Sounds like they've got Shoot, man, small business, less than 15 people on the squad, and they're really grinding it out. And so, any dispensaries that come across us in California, really encourage you guys to consider their products. I co-sign it. My family really here we utilize it, and so big shout out to their team, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get on my next trip to California. I got to get on.
I'll get you a CBD one because I know your back is.
Yeah, I looked at their
is
website.
whack.
I was looking at their website. I want to try a couple different ones of those for
Yeah.
just the the alternative to taking Advil and shit, like muscle relaxers and shit like that.
I don't take no pills anymore. I straight up just go get like 4 RSOs and I'll just munch them for 10 to 15 days straight. Just like it's just all the time.
Dope. Well, we went a little bit longer tonight, which was fine. We started a tad bit longer, but we had a really, really solid conversation. I loved it. I mean, Manny he had a lot of good things to say. And yeah, he's someone that I got to go smoke with and pick his brain a little bit more.
Oh yeah, definitely interested in picking up some game because one day we're gonna have a farm. We got to do it right. Got to learn. Got to spread the knowledge, share the wealth, man. Got to spread the game for sure.
So, all right, that's it for this episode of the RMR podcast. We'll see you guys later.
Hey, whoop! Love you all.